Hello and welcome back to the Analyst by Vajiram and Ravi, dated 30th January 2025. Today again, we will be discussing some important topics that has appeared in today's The Hindu and The Indian Express newspapers, which are very relevant for your exam. In our first topic, we will look into various aspects of stampedes and crowd management. Then in our second topic, we will look into the status of dairy sector in India. After that, in our simplified section, we will take up 5 articles and we will try to explain them in simplest language possible to enrich your understanding of the newspapers. Additionally, we have also incorporated some prelims pointers which is going to be very important for your upcoming prelims 2025 exam. So have a look on them also and stay tuned. So, our first topic is stampede and crowd management. The context of this topic is that a stampede caused by a crowd surge at Mahakumbh in Prayagraj led to death and injuries of several people. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 3 disaster management. So, what happened on Wednesday? There was Mauni Amavasya, which is an auspicious day as per Hindu mythologies, and lot of devotees wants to take dip or bath at the Sangam Ghat. Why? Because as per the mythology, as per the Hindu belief systems, that people who will take bath at the auspicious day of Mauni Amavasya can get rid of their past sins which they have committed. And that is the reason there has been a crowd surge which really became unsustainable to manage and further led to stampede-like situation, and it caused death and injuries of several devotees. What actually this stampede is? Stampede can be called as an impulsive, sudden mass movement which may arise due to a panic-like situation which may be caused either due to an unsustainable crowd surge or any rumor or misinformation which leads to a disruption of orderly movement of crowd and further leads to injuries and the fatalities. So what happens? Let's suppose take a very basic example. Let's suppose this is a temple and there are a lot of devotees who are visiting this temple properly, and the administration has ensured that there are proper lines or queues meant for male, female, old people, children, etc. Separate lines are there, and everyone is visiting this temple properly, and then they are going outside the temple properly. But let's suppose there was a misinformation or rumor which spread that there is a sudden collapse of some part of roof of that temple, which created a panic-like situation in all these people who were waiting in the queues, in the lines. And due to this panic, there was disruption of this orderly movement which was happening from earlier time. And that led to a stampede-like situation, and which may further lead to injuries and the death of people. And what is crowd management? Crowd management actually involves 3 major components. One is the capacity planning, that for any event or any mass gathering, how much population, how much people can be sustained properly. Accordingly, the administration can divert their resources for that gathering, for that particular event. For example, let's suppose in the Mahakumbh, government of Uttar Pradesh has done a capacity planning, and accordingly they have diverted their resources, whether it is the police personnel, whether it is the health personals, whether it is the fire safety department, all have diverted their resources so that in case of any contingency they can respond and the event can be managed properly. The second major component is the risk assessment, that what can be the possible risk associated with this mass gathering or this event, and what will be our incident response in case of any contingency or unforeseen circumstances that may arise. For example, government can keep some ambulances on standby every day to ensure that if some stampede-like situation will be created or may happen, proper support, the medical support can be provided to the injured in a due time. That is what is all involved in the crowd management. And why actually stampede kills? Because what happens when the crowd surge happens and when there is a disruption in the orderly movement, people start running here and there, which leads to traumatic asphyxia, which actually causes the partial or the complete cessation of respiration due to external compression. And this can happen in the standing position also, that so much compression has happened in the chest areas, in the stomach areas, that the people find it difficult to breathe properly, and further that can lead to loss of lives. Also, the myocardial infarction, That, for example, that people who have already some heart diseases, and in this particular stampede like situation or this unsustainable crowd surge, they find it difficult to breathe properly, and at that point of time their heart may collapse, and further it can lead to this heart attack or the loss of the lives of the people. And what are the constitutional and the legal provisions related to the crowd management? Under the fundamental rights which is provided under the part 3 of the Constitution, Article 19 1b provides the fundamental rights to the people of right to assemble peacefully without arms. But there are some reasonable restrictions which has been imposed for this fundamental rights. Means they are not absolute, but they are qualified. And what are those reasonable restrictions? That government can restrict this assembly on account of sovereignty and integrity of India, on account of maintenance of public order. What does public order means? It is in a state of safety and peace in a community, and it's condition that allows to people live together without fear. That is what is public order. And for maintenance of that public order, that peace in community, safety in the community, the government or the administration can restrict this assembly. Those are the restrictions which has been provided, which has been given under the Article 19 subclause 3. Then the Police Act of 1861, which provides for the conditions that may be laid for the regulating lawful processions. For example, what should be the traffic diversion, what should be the traffic movement to ensure that this procession or this assembly or gathering can happen normally, and the public inconvenience, how that can be minimized or how that can be ensured that public inconvenience doesn't happen. So according to that, what should be the plan that should be followed by the police personnel, etc., that is provided under the Police Act 1861. Then under the Disaster Management Act 2005, it deals with the vehicular and the human traffic. Okay, how they will be moving to that particular event, how they will be coming outside that event. Other areas related to the crowd management, that what should be the contingency response, how the SDRF or the NDRF should support in case of any contingency, all that is provided under the Disaster Management Act 2005. And how does human psychology plays a role in the stampede? The first important thing is that we have to understand that the stampede mainly happens always during the mass gathering itself. If there are only few number of people present in any event or gathering, stampede like situation cannot happen. And it is mainly triggered or made worse by the panic. Which panic? The panic which can be caused either by some rumor or false information, and this leads to a cooperative behavior or cooperative pattern which was earlier being followed by the people, that gets disturbed, and that creates a situation like stampede. What happens that in the month of July year 2024, there was a satsang which was being organized in the Bagpat district of Uttar Pradesh, and in that itself there was a stampede like situation happened, and that led to loss of life of more than 120%, and which is significant amount of death happening at one particular event. And as per Neil J. Smeltzer, who is one of the lead sociologists, he said that the main trigger or one of the main trigger for this stampede is the craze of the people. For example, in this satsang of Uttar Pradesh which was happening in July 2024, the craze of people to have a glimpse of their personality or the religious person whom they follow, or to get a hand to touch that person, this craze to touch that person or to see that person has disrupted this orderly movement of the people and further caused the stampede like situation. Similarly, many of you would have attended your college fests or in which various Bollywood personalities come. There are people who have a craze for these personalities, that they want to touch that personality or they want to get a glimpse of that personality, and due to this craze for that person, this further disrupts that orderly movement of the people and may cause a stampede like situation. For example, in 2016 there was a concert of the Arjit Singh in Pune. In that itself there was a stampede like situation which caused the injuries of the various people. So this craze of the people is one of the main trigger for this stampede. What are the other factors which are contributing to the stampede? One of the important factor. For example, the lack of light, the crowd flow can get disrupted in that particular situation. For example, in 2008, the Naina Devi temple in Himachal Pradesh is an example where poor lighting was a significant contributing factor, especially inside the temple premises. Or the same situation which happened in the Mahakumbh recently also, that the stampede happened in the morning itself, where at that point of time there was less lighting that was available. So that we can say as one of the cause of that stampede. Also, the collapse of barriers of the buildings. For example, that in 2013 Ratnagadi temple stampede of the Madhya Pradesh, there was collapse of one particular structure, and that was the reason for that stampede. Similarly, the blocked exits or the evacuation route can be also one of the examples of the stampede. For example, in 2015, during the Hajj pilgrimage, a surge of pilgrims in a narrow passage was exacerbated by blocked exits, and the lack of clear evacuation routes has led to a stampede-like situation and injuries of the people. Also, a 2022 Vaishno Devi stampede can be called as an example of poor design of hardware. That if there is a particular place where it is expected, it is anticipated that more number of people will be visiting this place, so it is the responsibility of the administration of that particular gathering, or it is the local administration, police personals, the urban local bodies of that particular place to ensure that there are proper barriers available, proper infrastructure available, so that that particular gathering can sustain all the crowds which are visiting that place. Also, the fire hazards. For example, Upahar cinema case which happened in 1997, although it was majorly due to the fire incident which happened in that particular cinema hall, but it has further, this fire hazard has created panic among the people, and which has created a stampede like situation and led to death of several people. So there are various mechanical factors or the infrastructure related factors which are one of the important contributors for the stampedes happening at various places, either in India or outside India. So what are the guidelines of the NDMA for managing this stampede? First, for the law enforcement agencies, they said that there should be regulation of the vehicular traffic activities. That whenever a mass gathering is happening, the general people should not get inconvenience due to that gathering. There should be a proper traffic plan. For example, you would have seen before every Republic Day, before every Independence Day, Delhi police publicizes in every newspaper the traffic advisory plan, that what should be the routes the normal public should follow because of several restrictions which are imposed before the Republic Day, before Independence Day. Also, the regulation of unauthorized stalls and the parkings. For example, at many places in the markets, etc., there are various vendors, various carts who sell their products. But at a time when there is a mass gathering which is happening, there is a crowd surge which may happen. If these people will be occupying the lanes, these people will be occupying the roads, that can further impact the sustainable management of that crowds. And that is the reason the NDMA says that those vendors, those carts should be regulated. Also, for organizations, there should be a proper route map and the emergency kits which should be prepared beforehand. Also, the barricading should be done, and that should be ensured that what is the amount of people that should be allowed to visit that particular place. Also, the CCTV cameras should be installed properly, and based on that CCTV cameras monitoring, the crowd surge should be monitored well, and if that is happening in a shorter span of time, that should be managed properly. Also, the research and the medical emergency service should be kept ready to address any contingency or unforeseen circumstances that may happen. For the participants, that it is very important to follow the instructions of the organizers, to follow the instructions of the people involved in the administrations. Also, they have to stay away from a significant amount of the crowds, and they should always be calm and alert, that if sudden panic which is being created at some place, rather than watching that particular situation, just get away from that place. That is one of the major thing to keep in mind while visiting any mass gathering. And as per some media reports, one of the major issue or one of the major cause of that stampede in the Mahakumbh was that there were some people who were sleeping on the near the passage or near the routes where from where the people were actually visiting that Sangam Ghat, right? So this is also not, you can say, the complete failure of the administration. Until and unless they will get support from the people, until and unless people will show some behavioral change, that they should not occupy that normal routes of the people's movement or the passage of the people's movement, obviously it will be really difficult to manage such a huge crowd. Okay, and as per various reports, the Mahakumbh has been termed as one of the largest human gathering in the world itself. So what should be the way forward? What should be done to tackle this stampede and the crowd mismanagement like issues? First is that there should be proper crowd management strategies beforehand, and administration should take learnings, administration should take examples, learnings from whatever the stampedes which has occurred earlier. For example, the Kumbh will be organized further after few years also. So the administration can take learnings from this particular event, that on some of the auspicious day like Basant Panchami, like Makar Sankranti, like Mauni Amavasya, there will be crowd surge. So they should have a proper plan to tackle these issues beforehand. Also, the infrastructure improvements needs to be done. Every city, whatever the infrastructure they have, that can sustain a limited amount of devotees. That cannot sustain more than that. So if there is a particular event which is going to be organized at one particular city, the infrastructure improvement should be done beforehand itself. Also, the emergency response system. What happens during stampede like situation? If the timely medical response is provided to the people, in most of the cases their lives can be saved. So there should be a proper emergency response system with proper equipped ambulances which can provide the intensive care units and in the ambulances itself, and this can be provided, the response should be in a minimal time, so that the precious lives of the people can be saved. Also, the public awareness campaign should be done, and this should be done beforehand. Okay, after the incident happened, this is of less use. Before the incident itself, before that gathering itself, proper awareness should be done. That information should be given to the people itself, that at what time they have to visit, what are the various do's and don'ts that they have to follow. Also, the technological interventions, and that is one of the areas which the current Mahakumbh gathering is focusing, that they have installed CCTV cameras, and based on the AI they are monitoring, they are using the drone cameras, etc. But more and more technological interventions can be done. For example, the traffic routes, etc. can be also collaborated, or you can say the traffic, whatever the traffic movement that is happening, there should be a real-time data of that traffic movement also. That can also help in planning that what is the crowd surge that can happen, and that can help in proper barricading beforehand, that even that can help in minimizing the crowd surge. So based on the latest technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, drone technologies, and the big data, etc., the technological interventions can help in minimizing the loss due to the stampedes. A mains practice question that you people can write from this topic is: discuss the key factors contributing to stampedes and suggest measures for their prevention and the management. So our second topic is dairy sector of India. The context of this topic is that a write-up has appeared focusing on need for bridging the milk divide for a nutritionally secure India. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 3, agriculture and economics of animal rearing. So as per the writers of this editorial, this inequality is not only limited to the wealth that has been highlighted by Oxfam report, World Inequality Report, etc. But there has been a large milk divide between different communities of India, between the population of rural areas and the urban areas. And also there is a milk divide between the states, that is the availability and the consumption of the milk is not very equal among the states itself. For example, some states like Haryana and Rajasthan are consuming more milk as compared to the states like Chhattisgarh, etc., where there is a less availability and the consumption of milk is there. So that is the reason we'll look into this whole dairy sector, that what is its status. So as per this data from NSSO and the data from Economic Survey, the dairy sector contributes 25% to world's total milk output, is happening from India itself, and the India ranks first in the production of the milk globally. Also, the 5% of the country's GDP comes from the dairy sector itself, whereas 8 crore families are provided livelihood by the dairy industry, which emphasizes on the point that dairy industry is one of the important contributor to the employment generation in India, particularly in the rural areas. Also, more than 70% of in India in dairy sector is led by women itself, or the participation in the dairy sector almost 70% is of women itself, which also emphasize on the point that this is one of the sector which is women led. Also, dairy sector have far reaching benefits for the economy, for the employment generation. For example, let's suppose this is a cattle which have some or other kind of beard, which that it is following the trend of 2025. The milk which is coming from that, it can be a good source of nutrition for the family, which can help in addressing the malnutrition or the health related issues of the family. The milk which is coming, that can be supplied to the dairy plants, the surplus milk apart from which has been consumed in the family, and dairy plants can do the value addition in that milk, and other milk products and the skimmed milk products etc. can be made out of that milk. Also, the dungs which are coming from the cow or the buffalo, they can be used in the gobar gas plants, and the gas which will be that can be used for the cooking of the foods etc. Also, the manures which will be coming from the gobar gas plants or from the dungs directly, that can help in ensuring the proper availability of the organic manures, and which can also help in increasing the soil fertility at large, and it can also help in promoting the organic farmings or the natural farming. But what are the issues in the dairy sector at large? First is the issue of the low milk productivity. As per some rough estimates, as highlighted in different reports, in India, it is only the 15 to 18 liters per cow per day is the productivity of the cow. Whereas in the developed countries, or some of the countries which have a very significant developed dairy industry like New Zealand, Brazil, etc., it can exceed the 30 liters per day per cow, which emphasizes that there is low quality or the low productive bovines are there in India. Also, as per this global agricultural productivity report which came in 2018, it says that India's to meet India's milk demand, that 9 million cows are there and it is producing 93 million tons. But in the 90 million bovines are only producing 140 million tons in India. India has 10 times as many as dairy producing bovines as US, but produces only 50% more milk. That means that India have more population of bovines, but the milk production is not as high as it should be as compared to the number of bovines that we have. Also, the feed quality and the availability, that is the fodder like cow pea etc. are the horse gram etc. are supplied. The straw is supplied as an fodder for the cattle. So the availability and the prices of this has been also a significant issue, because it also impact the prices of the milk. Another thing is that whatever the feed or the fodder which is being supplied, whether that is nutritional or not, because if that it will not be nutritional, obviously it will impact the quality and the productivity of the milk. And you can see that this is the data from Ministry of Statistics and the Program Implementation, that fodder price has significantly increased after 2019, and one of the major reason of this increase in the prices of the fodder is obviously the availability. When supply of the fodder will be less, it will lead to increased prices of the fodder. And there are various natural reasons and the climate change related reasons which is impacting the quality and as well as the availability of the fodders, because when there will be drought like conditions, when there will be incessant rainfalls, obviously it will impact the growth of the fodders, or the quality of the fodders will not be good, and that will impact the availability, and that will create a spike in the prices of the fodders. Also, you can see that this has been one of the significant contributor to the high prices of the milks. And this is the overall CPI inflation, okay, which is hovering around between 5 to 6%. But the milk inflation in the milk and the milk products had reached to almost 10%. That was almost 9.7% in the month of February 2023. And we can directly relate that increase in the prices of the fodder and the availability of the fodders with increase in the prices of the milk. And milk is one of the important staple commodity which is demanded, which is used by most of the population. And when the prices of milk increases, it impacts the pockets of the people, it impacts the earnings of the people. Also, the high input costs that are involved. For example, the feed and the fodder, the veterinary care, that is all the costs that farmer have to bear to ensure that whatever the diseases etc. that may impact the productivity and the quality of the bovines. The other inputs are squeezing the profit margins of the people, and with more and more climate change and more diseases that are coming like foot and mouth disease, brucellosis etc., it is impacting the income of the farmers, productivity of milks and everything else. For example, the lumpy skin disease is one of the disease which you might have heard previously, and this has impacted more than 67,000 cattle have succumbed in 1 year itself from this lumpy skin disease. And it was a viral disease, and it was mainly transmitted by blood feeding insects like certain species of mosquitoes, flies or ticks. Similarly, the foot and mouth disease, which is again a contagious disease which is affecting the cloven hoofed animals like the cows, goats, sheep etc. can get this foot and mouth disease, and that can lead to mortality of these bovines or these animals. So all these farmers have to at least give some additional cost or bear some additional cost for all this veterinary care, and this high input cost and rising input cost with the climate change and more diseases coming, it further impacts the profitability and the income of the farmers in the dairy sector. Also, the lack of modernization. Still, a significant amount of the people involved in the dairy sectors are using the traditional practices itself, and that is impacting the efficiency and the productivity of bovines, as well as it is impacting the productivity of the milk. Also, the climate change, that extreme weather events, the heat stress, changing rainfall, it is impacting the health of the livestock as well as the productivity. Many of people who are coming from the rural backgrounds, they would be knowing that the amount of milk which is produced by the cows or the buffaloes decrease significantly, especially during the summer seasons or in the seasons where there is very high temperature is there. So that is the reason that due to climate change, when the global temperature is rising, the days of the larger heat like temperatures are rising, it is further impacting the health and the productivity of the bovines, or you can say the overall livestock sector. Several other challenges are there. For example, the poor infrastructure, especially the infrastructure related to the value addition, the cold storage facilities are not there. Also, the price volatility. When we do not have proper cold storage facilities, proper value addition facilities, proper processing facilities, the milk is one of such components which have a very shorter shelf life. Obviously, it will degrade in a shorter span of time, and which impacts the supply of the this milk also, and it creates a price volatility. There is very poor price discovery mechanism of this milk. Also, the limited veterinary services, especially in the rural areas, less number of veterinary doctors are there. All this further creates the impacts the productivity and further creates various other issues. This lumpy skin disease which we were talking, it causes the fever, nodules on the skins, and also can lead to death. The control options are vaccination, culling of the infected animals, etc. And this foot and mouth disease, here in this particular disease, animals suffer from fever, blisters in mouth and on feet, and they affect their ability to eat and walk. And when they are not able to eat, they are not able to walk, their locomotive ability also gets impacted, and it can lead to death of that particular cattle in the longer run in extreme cases. And whether human can get infected with this foot and mouth disease or not, human infection is rare, does not cause serious illness, and it is not transmitted to humans in meat. Also, this foot and mouth disease is not the same disease as human hand, foot and mouth disease, which is generally common in the children's. Also, government has taken various initiatives to actually address this overall issues in the dairy sector. For example, Rashtriya Gokul Mission was launched by the government of India with aim to develop and conserve indigenous breeds and enhancing their production and the productivity with the proper capacity building support and the central assistance. Also, the dairy entrepreneurship development scheme is being implemented with the objective of generation of the self-employment opportunities in the dairy sector, covering activities such as enhancement of the milk production, procurement, preservation, transportation, accessing and marketing of milk central assistance. So overall, it is looking after all the backward and the forward linkages of the dairy sector, starting from the bovine to ultimate processing of this particular dairy products. In any question, whether it is coming from agriculture, food processing industry, or any question which is coming from dairy sector, allied sector at large, if you will have this clarity in mind that what are the different backward linkages, okay, and what are different forward linkages, or this supply chain, if you will keep in mind, it will be much easier for you to generate various points for significance, generate various points for the challenges and the way forward. For example, in the particular backward linkage in the agriculture sector, the proper productive bovines are not there, okay, lack of proper fodder is there. So these are the backward linkages. And the forward linkages, lack of proper processing facility, agricultural marketing is, the marketing of the products are not there, branding of the products are not there, storage is not good. So all this backward and the forward linkages, if you'll keep in mind, it will be much easier for you to generate points. Similarly, in the agriculture sector, backward linkages are the inputs which are used, seeds, fertilizers, irrigation, etc. Forward linkages, storage, processing, then branding, marketing, all that is the forward linkages. When you will keep this supply chain in mind, it will be very easy for you to write various points. Also, this national program for dairy development, which is being implemented with the objective to create infrastructure for milk procurement, processing and marketing central with the central assistance itself. Then we have the e-Pashu Hart portal under the scheme, under the larger scheme of National Mission on Bovine Productivity. e-Pashu Hart portal is developed for connecting breeders and the farmers regarding the availability of the quality bovine germplasm, which can actually help in ensuring that more and more productive bovine are being produced, this use of artificial insemination programs which will be done or which will be used, this bovine germplasm can be of ultimate use. Also, various other technological initiatives which has been taken by the government of India in past for the dairy sector. That e-Gopala app was launched that has helped in generation of wealth through the productive livestock. The sale and the trade can happen. The largest semen station in the government sector has been established in the Purnia, Bihar. The inauguration of in vitro fertilization lab at Patna Animal Science University has been done. Also, the artificial insemination through sex sorted semen for production of female calves with 90% accuracy to be launched, because the male calves generally they are less useful, because and the female calves they can produce milk, they can produce further calves or the bovines in the larger run, so they are more productive, and that is the reason this sex sorted semen artificial insemination technology is being used. Also, the IVF technology at the farmer's doorstep is also being used, is also being promoted under the larger overall initiatives of the government of India. What should be done apart from the other initiatives? First is that there is need for enhancing the access for the vulnerable. This all way forward is highlighted in the editorial itself. So what are the various suggestions that has been given by the editorial is that first, there is need for enhancing milk access for the vulnerable, especially the schemes which are being already run by the government, like Poshan Abhiyan, the integrated child development schemes, the midday meal schemes. Government can provide support under these schemes to ensure that availability of the milk is there, especially for the vulnerable people like pregnant women, like small children, like natal children, etc., who are in more need of the milk because of the nutritional deficiency that they may have to face. Also, there is need for promoting the nutritional awareness among all the citizens, because Still, there is malnutrition that is very significant in the larger population because of the lack of knowledge about the importance of the nutritional diet. And it is not only limited to the poor family. The Gen Z, which is the new age people who are going to the offices, who are only focusing on the works, etc. There is some or other kind of nutritional deficiency is also being seen in these people also. They need to be also made aware and understand the importance of nutritional security. Also, the UK model can be this applied. This campaign, that is Change for Life campaign, which was an awareness campaign which was used by the UK government, which has actually helped significantly in improving the awareness about the nutritional security, and which has actually helped in improving the consumption of the nutritional diets. Similar things can be done in India, especially with regard to the consumption of the milk among the different group of people. Also, the government can and partner with different doctors, influencers, and digital media influencers for ensuring that people understand the importance of the milk and the nutritional diet. Also, the women Anganwadi centers, etc., and the self-help groups, non-governmental organizations, civil society organizations, their human capital, their human presence can be leveraged, with the help of which we can increase this awareness and further ensure that people are consuming the milk properly. Also, apart from the suggestions which has been recommended, especially which were only limited towards the awareness, what should be done to address overall issues of the dairy sector? First, we need to improve the breeding techniques, and focus should be more on the high yielding breeds. And for this, more and more research and development is needed. We can also go for some transfer of technologies, or we can take help from some of the developed countries which have more high yielding breeds, because that can actually help in addressing the issue of the carcasses of the animals and the large scale animals which are present. When we will have a only limited set of high yielding variety breeds, it will help in improving the quality of the milk, improving the availability of the milk. Also, the overall unproductive animals issue we will be able to address that properly. Also, the scientific feed management needs to be, and similar research and development is needed in the fodder cultivation, in the availability of the fodder also, and this can actually help in balanced nutrition fodder development, which will be significant in improving the quality and the availability of the milk. Also, the technology adoption is needed. Whatever the measures that are already in place, their affordability and the availability needs to be ensured, especially in the rural areas which are major contributor in the dairy sectors. There is need for modern equipments that needs to be provided. Government can provide some subsidy, hand holding, or the capacity building to the people. Also, data driven decisions should be taken, especially if there will be a proper price discovery mechanism of the milk, which will be linked to the availability of the milk according to the different seasons, according to the different demands. It will help in tackling the increased prices of the milk as well as the availability of the milk. For example, whenever the festive seasons comes, the demand of the milk increases manifold. Why? Because people uses milk and milk products which are coming from the milk, like rasgullas, khoyas, etc. So when we already have this idea that there will be an increased demand in the festive season, in the wedding seasons, government can come with some measures which can ensure that there is proper availability. Government can provide some processing facilities, value addition facilities, which can actually help in the preserving the milk, or the turning the milk to skimmed milk products, or doing some value addition in the milks, which can help in ensuring that this milk is fit to be consumed for a larger time. Also, we need to strengthen the infrastructure, especially the cold storage facilities, processing facilities. Also, the climate smart practices needs to be focused, that whatever the breeds that we are producing, they are resilient to the climate change, because the indigenous and the traditional varieties are not immune to this climate change related issues which are coming diseases which are coming out of this. Also, better adaptation strategies needs to be thought of there, so that these issues which are coming out of climate change, which are impacting the productivity and the quality of the bovines, they can be addressed well. A prelims PYQ which is related to this particular question: Consider the following crops of India: cowpea, green gram and pigeon pea. Which of the above is are used as pulse fodder and green manure? Now the answer which was given by the UPSC in its official answer key is 1 and 2 only, A. Okay, that is the correct answer. This cow and green pea is also used as pulse fodder as well as for the green manure, and this is one mains practice question which you people can write. In the simplified section, our first topic is India's 100th launch lifts the NAVIC satellite. And this particular topic is related to your GS paper 3, space technology, achievements of Indian in science and technology, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu page number 1. So the context is that the Indian Space Research Organization on Wednesday morning launched its 100th mission GSLV F-15, lifting off with the navigation satellite from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota. Now you people tell me in the comment box that this GSLV is of how much stages. Okay, how much stages are involved in the GSLV. The launch vehicle with an indigenous cryogenic stage lifted off from the spaceport's second launch pad at 6:23 am. The rocket successfully placed the NVS-02 satellite, NVS means navigation satellite, in the intended orbit. This cryogenic stage is actually the final stage of the space launch vehicle that uses the cryogenics. And cryogenics, you can call, is the study of materials at extremely low temperature. In the cryogenic stages, we use the liquid hydrogen as well as the liquid oxygen as the propellants. Also, this NVS-02 is the second satellite in this NVS series and the part of India's navigation with Indian constellation or NAVIC, which can be also called as India's GPS or India's navigation system. The ISRO said that NAVIC is India's independent regional navigation satellite system designed to provide accurate positions, velocity and the timing, service to users in India and the regions extending about 1500 km beyond the Indian landmass, which is its primary service area. Means it is not providing coverage to whole world or whole area, only beyond the 1500 km of Indian mass. And this is the place from which UPSC has asked one question in the prelims examination, which we will discuss also. Also, the NAVIC provides two types of services: standard positioning services, as well as the restricted services or RS. These restricted services are only available to the army, military or intelligence agencies, whereas the standard positioning services are available to the normal humans, like me and you. Also, the farmer provides a position accuracy of better than 20 meters and a timing accuracy of better than 40 nanoseconds over the primary service area. For example, the Google map that uses the GPS system or the global positioning system. But there are some phones, especially the made in India phones, which have now NAVIC installed in India, NAVIC installed in India, and they are using that NAVIC itself to ensure that you get proper location. This IRNSS or Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, which is also called as NAVIC, is mainly designed obviously to provide real-time accurate positioning. And this IRNSS satellite system consists of 7 satellites, 3 in geostationary orbit GEO and 4 in geosynchronous orbit, inclined at 29 degrees to equator. And each of this satellite has 3 rubidium clocks which provide accurate location. As compared to normal clocks which we use, these atomic clocks are more accurate, and that is the reason we are able to get a proper position and proper location within due time. Also, the geosynchronous satellites have an orbital period equal to the Earth rotation, which is about 24 hours, and they can have an inclined orbit. Okay, so they may appear to move north to south. A broader category that includes geostationary satellite as a special case is under the geosynchronous satellite. We can have the geostationary satellite, whereas the geostationary satellites are the orbits that orbit the Earth above the equator, appearing stationary to the ground observer, and they have a circular orbit with the zero inclination, means angle relative to the equator is 0. Also, it is ideal for the communication and the observation of a specific region, and they are mainly used in the communication satellites. For example, whatever the television broadcast etc. you are using, mainly the geostationary satellites are used for that. And this we all have discussed that it provide two type of services applications. The American satellites have American GPS have 24 satellites, whereas IRNSS have total only 7 satellites. And this was the question which was asked in 2018 itself, that with reference to Indian regional navigation satellite, consider the following statement. IRNSS has 3 satellites in geostationary and 4 satellites in geosynchronous. Obviously this is correct. It covers entire India and about 5,500 square kilometer beyond its borders. That is incorrect. So eliminate the option 2. India will have its own satellite navigation system with full global coverage by middle of 2019. That is also incorrect. We do not have full global coverage. So only option, that is A only, was the correct option. And that is another insight that you can get from the prelims questions, that UPSC do tweak some or other information in the factual information. They will not tweak in 100 times of most of the times, but some of the times they do tweak this factual information, and that is one area from which you can get a hint to get the answer of that question. Next topic is about the critical mineral mission. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 1, mineral and energy resources, government policies and interventions, which is part of your GS paper 2, and this has appeared in today's Indian Express page number 12. So mainly the context is that the cabinet approved the setting up of this national critical minerals mission on Wednesday with a budgetary outlay of 16,300 crore over 7 years, with an additional 18,000 crore expected in investment from the central public sector undertakings, or the PSUs, which are involved in the mining, etc. Also, with the 3,000 crore budgeted for the National Mineral Exploration Trust and 4,000 crore for Geological Survey of India to actually look for the mines from where we can get the critical minerals to get an idea. Exploration purposes is one of the main aim of it. Also, the NCMM targets 1,200 domestic critical mineral exploration projects till 2030-31, and the Ministry of Mines also aims to auction over 100 critical mineral blocks by this 2030-31. And this mission is mainly aims to strengthen India's critical minerals value chain by building a technological, regulatory and financial ecosystem to ensure the mineral availability from both the domestic and the foreign sources, and it is set to boost access to raw materials that is used in strategic sectors from clean energy, electronics, defense and agriculture. For example, critical minerals like lithium, etc. are used in EV, okay, for making of the batteries, etc. Several other critical minerals like cobalt, etc. are used in chip making, which is one of the important component of the electronics industry. So for example, let's suppose this is a pen. We are making pen, but we are not able to make ink of this pen. So obviously we will have to be dependent on some of the countries or the clients who are producing the ink. That is the case that is happening in the case of the critical minerals, that we are mainly dependent on the imports for majority of the critical minerals, which is impacting our renewable energy shift. The components which are used in the renewable energy, they are also getting impacted, and that is the reason this National Critical Mineral Mission was launched, to ensure that we can explore the potential sources or potential mines of these critical minerals. We can also develop a proper technology with the help of which we can dig out this or mine these critical minerals. Also financial support, proper regulatory or the clearances, all that has been subsumed under this National Critical Mineral Mission. When it was launched, the outlay will be 34,300 crore over 7 years, and mission will encompass all stages of the value chain, starting from mining to ultimate consumption or ultimate use in different sectors like this electronics, agriculture, etc. And this mission will help in intensifying the exploration of critical minerals within the country and its offshore areas. For example, in the Bombay High region, we have the availability of the oils, etc. Similarly, in the offshore basins, we can have availability of the critical minerals also. Also, it aims to create a fast-track regulatory approval process for critical mineral mining projects, the environmental clearances and other clearances that are needed. There is a fast process under this National Critical Mineral, so that there should not be a longer gestation period or delay in these mining projects. Also, it offers financial incentives for critical mineral exploration and promote the recovery of these minerals from the overburdens and the tailings. And these are some of the benefits which has been highlighted by the government, that it will help in energy transitions, that we will be able to transition towards the green energy like solar energy, wind turbines, etc. We will be able to manufacture the components with the better availability of these critical minerals. Also, it will boost the overall economic development. Industries such as electronics, telecommunications, etc., they heavily rely on these critical minerals, and till now we were dependent on the imports. With the better availability, we will have a better economic development. Also, it will also impact the national security, because these are very vital for the defense, aerospace, nuclear space applications, etc. So if we will have a better availability of these critical minerals, we will be able to ensure a proper manufacturing and the production of the components which are needed for the national security. Also, it is going to be very important for the agricultures, the fertilizers industry like phosphorite, glauconite, etc. we use in the fertilizer industries, that we are also dependent for these type of minerals. We are dependent on the imports only. With the more exploration of the critical minerals and the availability, this reliance of fertilizer industry on the imports can be also minimized. Next topic is PM Surya Ghar Yojana, which is related to your GS paper 2, government policies and intervention. This has appeared in today's Hindu, page number 12. So the context is that nearly a year after Central launched the 75,000 crore PM Surya Ghar scheme, 85 lakh households have installed rooftop solar connections. It is said by the Union Minister of New and Renewable Energy, Mr. Prahlad Joshi. And it was first announced following the inauguration of the Ram temple. If you'll see the pictures, that only after coming from the Pran Pratishtha ceremony, which was done by our Honorable Prime Minister, the first scheme which was launched was this PM Surya Ghar Yojana. And it was officially launched on February 15, 2024. It was announced by PM after coming from Pran Pratishtha ceremony of Lord Ram. Also, the last month, it was the Parliamentary Standing Committee on the Energy which remarked the slow pace and the growth and this implementation of this scheme, which said that only 5 lakh installation of a total 20 lakh applications made on the Surya Ghar portal had been completed as October last year. The committee noted that it was highlighted by the committee, that is this slow pace of implementation of this scheme. So what is this PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana? It is a central scheme which is promoting the solar rooftop systems with a substantial financial subsidy and the installation support from the government. And the objective is to provide free electricity to 1 crore households, offering 300 units per month. The implementing agencies are at the national level. It is managed by National Program Implementation Agency, which is NPIA. At the state level, it is managed by state implementation agencies, which may be developed by the states, such as the DISCOMs or the states distribution companies or the states power energy departments. Under this, a financial assistance of 30,000 for 1 kilowatt system, 60,000 for 2 kilowatt system, and 78,000 for 3 kilowatt system or higher. The benefits of this scheme is that it collateral free low interest loan at around 7% for the households. Also, the households can generate additional income by sale of the surplus power to the DISCOMs located in that areas. Let's suppose that there is a particular household who is producing more electricity, so they can sell that to the DISCOMs, and DISCOM can provide that electricity to some other people who are in need. And with the help of this mechanism, the households who have surplus this production, they can generate money out of that. Also, the reduction of 72 million tons of carbon equivalent emissions over 25 years because of our shift towards the renewable sources and decreased reliance on the fossil fuels and the greenhouse gases emitting, or the carbon emissions which are happening due to use of the fossil fuels. Also, overall 17 lakh jobs are expected to be created in these related services. Our next topic is the difference between parole and the furlough. This is related to your GS paper 2 fundamental rights, and this has appeared in today's Indian Express, page number 5. And there was a PYQ also which appeared in 2021 prelims paper related to this particular topic. So if you talk about the parole, we cannot say it as a matter of right, and the Prisons Act 1894 actually looks after all the aspects of this parole and the furlough. Also, furlough can be a matter of right, but not many are aware of this, usually granted after 1 year in jail and maximum 21 days in a year. The furlough can be granted periodically but can be denied if there is a sufficient reason that this person can go against the interest. This particular decision of granting furlough to that particular convict may be against the interest, may have some widespread repercussions for the society. For example, if there was a person who was convicted for murder and there are apprehensions that after coming in the society that person can further commit some other crimes, so obviously it is not in the interest of society, so the furlough can be denied. Also, the period of furlough is treated as remission of the sentence, means the period of the release is counted towards the total period of the sentence, which is not case with the parole. The period of the release does not count towards the total period of the sentence. Also, no reasons have to be cited for granting furlough. The purpose is to enable prisoner to retain the family associations that and also keep up ties with the society and avoid the ill effects of the continuous prison life. It is to break the monotony of the jail life, and also in a way it is a particular measure that can actually help in rehabilitation or the improvement in the particular behavior of the person. That might be some of the reasons of the furlough. Whereas parole, it may be denied if the competent authority is satisfied on valid grounds that there is no sufficient cause for granting parole or it's against the interest of the society. Also, grant of parole does not disqualify the person from right to furlough. The grant of subsequent parole and the furlough are subject to police report on the convict's conduct in the jail premises. Also, the period spent on the parole is not counted as remission of sentence. Maximum 90 days a year that a particular person can get as a parole. Also, the reason for granting parole have to be specified by the jail authorities, that whether that person is going to attend any wedding, any family function, or any they have to participate in the death procession of any of the family members. That particular reason has to be mentioned while granting the parole. And this is the question prelims PYQ that was asked from this particular topic. You people please tell me the answer of this question in the comment box. Our last topic is Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, and they have hiked in ethanol procurement price. This particular topic is related with your GS paper 2 executive, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu page number 30. So the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs on Wednesday revised the ethanol procurement prices for public sector oil marketing companies like Indian oil corporations, etc., from 56.58 per liter to 57.97 per liter. So whatever the people who are supplying the ethanol, they can get benefited from this move. Also, the new price is for ongoing ethanol supply year 2024-25, which will end on 31st March, starting from November 1, 2024 to October 31st, 25. The financial year will end on the 31st March 2025, but the ethanol supply year will end on October 31, 2025, which has started on November 1, 2024. And it is under the Centre's ethanol blended petrol program that some amount of ethanol can be blended with the petrol to ensure that the greenhouse gas emissions can be reduced, the carbon emissions can be reduced. Also, some kind of support can be provided to the farmers where despite the sugar production they are doing, the extra molasses or the CHM, that is C heavy molasses, which they are producing, they can get some money for that also, which is a byproduct of the sugar industry or the sugar production. Also, they said that this will be provided for the C heavy molasses that have a very little sugar content, and they will be used for the ethanol production. The more we encourage the CHM for the ethanol production, it will be benefiting both the farmers and the environment. CHM is one of the byproduct which we get while producing the sugar itself. When this CHM will be used, generally what farmers do, they throw this CHM. But if there will be someone, this oil marketing companies are ready to buy this byproduct, then farmer can get some money and their income can further enhanced. Also, if you look about the cabinet committees, they are extra constitutional and they are not mentioned in the constitution. And there are two types of cabinet committees. One are the standing and the permanent, and second is the ad hoc or the temporary cabinet committees, which are actually formed for some special problems or special purposes. They are mainly set up by the Prime Minister as needed. Their number, nomenclature and the composition may vary according to one Prime Minister and other Prime Minister. Also, they sort out issues, formulate proposals and make decision which cabinet can review. So this cabinet committee actually helps in fastening the decision making process. Also, these committees reduce the cabinet's workload, facilitates the in-depth policy examination and ensure the effective coordination based on the division of labor and the delegation principles. As of now, there are 8 cabinet committees. 6 cabinet committees are headed by the Prime Minister of India itself, and there are 2 cabinet committees which are headed by 2 different cabinet ministers. You people tell me in the comment box that which are the 2 cabinet committees which are headed by the ministers other than the Prime Minister in the comment box. Also, this cabinet committee on the economic affairs takes decision on the economic matters of the government. The chairperson of this committee is the Prime Ministers and the members are the cabinet ministers. The functions of this cabinet committee of economic affairs are directing and coordinating government activities in the economic sector, to review the economic trends in the country, the GDP figures, employments, etc., to review activities related to the rural developments, how further the employment generation can happen in the rural economy, etc., industrial licensing for setting up of joint sector undertakings, etc., to consider issues related to disinvestment, etc., what amount of disinvestment should be done in which industry, or all those decisions are taken by the Cabinet Committee of Economic Affairs itself. This was all from today's analyst. Thank you very much for joining this session. All the very best. Keep studying.